It was a gray, overcast morning in downtown San Francisco. The streets bustled with noise as the city began another workday, but inside the 34th floor of a sleek, glass-wrapped skyscraper, a very different kind of chaos was unfolding. Within the headquarters of Sentinel Logic, a top-tier cybersecurity and biometric software company, panic was silently spreading. The company's flagship product, a biometric access platform used by banks, airports, and even defense contractors, had gone completely offline just 2 days prior. No one outside the company knew yet, but the system crash was catastrophic. Clients couldn't access their networks, sensitive systems were frozen, and millions of users were being locked out. Even the company's internal servers had been affected. What was meant to be an airtight, self-healing platform had folded in on itself without warning. For 48 hours, the top engineering minds in the building had been working in shifts fueled by caffeine, stress, and a growing sense of dread. 30 engineers, each with impressive resumes and graduate degrees, sat hunched over laptops. Error logs scrolled across monitors. Code littered the whiteboards lining the walls. Several leads had come up empty. What made the situation worse was that they couldn't even find the root cause. "This doesn't make sense," Jason, the lead systems engineer, muttered as he rubbed his temples. "The core logic validator is rejecting even our manual override. It's acting like its own code is hostile." Around him, team members shook their heads. Someone whispered, "We're running out of time," and another quietly asked, "Should we inform the clients?" Upstairs in the executive boardroom, the tension was even thicker. The CEO paced by the windows, staring down at the traffic below. Investors were scheduled to call in less than an hour. No one had answers. Then, as engineers argued and senior developers compared notes, a soft knock sounded at the glass double doors. Everyone looked up. A young woman stepped inside. She looked no older than 20, wearing a navy windbreaker with a food delivery service logo on the chest. Flashbite Eats. Her hair was tied back in a loose braid, and a well-used tablet was tucked under one arm. In her hand, she carried a brown paper bag. "Delivery for Jason?" she asked, eyes scanning the crowded room. Jason looked up, confused. "I didn't order anything," he replied. She smiled awkwardly. "It says this floor. Maybe someone else?" One of the junior engineers waved a hand. "Oh, that might be mine. I ordered breakfast earlier. You can just leave it here." But the girl didn't move right away. Her eyes had already locked onto a massive display behind Jason. It showed lines of real-time system errors and a cascading code trace. "That's Sentinel's biometric access system, right?" she asked, walking closer before anyone could stop her. Jason frowned. "Yeah, why?" She tilted her head slightly, analyzing the display. "Looks like your hash validator is misinterpreting system calls as duplicate signatures. That recursive loop isn't random. It's rejecting its own handshake, isn't it?" A few engineers blinked. "What?" Jason asked, almost offended. The girl pointed at a specific line on the code screen. "That part, it's not a bug. It's a checksum collision loop caused by a silent certificate rollback. If you bypass the timestamp on the root handshake, you might trigger a reset." Jason stared at her. "Who are you?" She held up her tablet. "Just a delivery girl. But I'm also in my senior year at Caltech, dual major in computer science and cryptography. I recognize the Sentinel structure from your 2023 white paper. I've been studying attack simulations for a paper of my own." Everyone in the room was quiet now. "You're saying you know what's causing this?" Jason asked. She nodded. "I can show you if you let me try." He hesitated. Then, against every rule and instinct, he stepped aside. "Show me what you've got." The room was quiet as she stepped forward, placing her delivery bag gently on the ground beside the terminal. Most of the engineers still looked skeptical. Some were amused, others slightly annoyed, but no one stopped her. Jason crossed his arms, watching closely as she connected her own small flash drive to a nearby port. She moved fast, but deliberately. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she opened the system logs, toggled a few back-end protocols, and began running a diagnostic script she had apparently written herself. The lines of code scrolled rapidly across the screen. But instead of hitting errors like every other attempt had, the system paused, then started to process. "You bypassed the core handshake?" Jason asked, shocked. "Not bypassed. Redirected it temporarily through a proxy key I generated on the fly," she said calmly. "It's a controlled simulation. I'm feeding it a clean validation packet based on your root protocol." Another engineer leaned in, whispering to his colleague, "There's no way, she's just a delivery girl." Suddenly the screen flickered. The red error messages stopped. The console lit up green. "System stabilized, restoring services." Gasps echoed around the room. Everyone leaned forward. On the central monitor, the biometric platform's core modules began returning to full operation. Real-time access logs resumed. User interfaces began reloading across test devices. The entire system, once frozen, was alive again. Jason blinked. That worked. It actually worked. The CEO, who had been on the verge of cancelling a multi-million-dollar government contract, walked in just as the final restoration notice pinged across the boardroom display. "What just happened?" he asked. Jason turned to him, still stunned. "She fixed it." The CEO's gaze moved to the girl, who was now calmly unplugging her flash drive. "You're telling me none of our 30 engineers could solve this in 2 days, and she did it in—" He looked at the clock. 7 minutes? The girl smiled politely. "I've been studying systems like yours for a while. Your platform is brilliant, but a rollback vulnerability in your auto-certification is what tripped the recursive loop. Once I understood your schema, it wasn't that hard to patch." "Who are you?" the CEO asked, stepping closer. She extended her hand. "Aaliyah Torres, senior at Caltech. I deliver food part-time. Tuition is expensive." Silence fell for a moment. Then someone in the room chuckled in disbelief. Another engineer clapped softly. Then more joined in until the entire room applauded. The CEO was still trying to process it. "You ever think about working in cybersecurity?" She grinned. "Every day, but right now I have finals next week and 3 more deliveries before lunch." Jason looked genuinely embarrassed. "Aaliyah, I thank you, seriously." She shrugged. "I just didn't want you all to crash your system trying the wrong fix." As she walked toward the door, the CEO called after her, "We'll pay you for your time. And if you're looking for a job after graduation, Sentinel Logic will be waiting." She paused, looked back, and gave a small, confident nod. "I'll keep that in mind." The door closed behind her. Minutes later, Jason checked her flash drive. Nothing was saved, no copied data, no exported files. Just a simple diagnostic tool and a hand-typed script written in less than 3 kilobytes. Back in the executive meeting, the CEO opened Twitter and typed a short message. "Today, a food delivery girl solved what 30 top engineers couldn't. Never underestimate quiet genius. Real talent." It went viral within the hour. Across the city, Aaliyah rode her electric bike to her next delivery, earbuds in. No idea the internet was already calling her the girl who rebooted Silicon Valley.